Hi there. So what I'm going to show in this screencast, this is an interesting way to make a screencast with my computer recording my TV, which is hooked up to my iPad. Can't wait till the iPad actually allows you to make a screencast so we can do these things a little easier. This is Popplet. Popplet is an app for the iPad that also has an online component called Popplet.com. And Popplet is originally designed as a mind mapping tool. So there's a lot of collaborative mind mapping tools that have applications for SLPs because a mind mapping tool is basically creating an online graphic organizer, an interactive kind of graphic organizer. So it's a fun, engaging way to break down topics with students. So I actually have the full version of Popplet, which costs, I think it's $8. But you can buy a light version that is free, and it allows you just to make one Popplet. So I'm going to demo how to make a Popplet. From the Popplet home screen, you click Make New Popplet, and it wants you to name it. I'm going to make one about important locations in Boston. And when it says pick a color for your Popplet, that's the way it's going to be represented in the menu. And that also kind of affects the background. So you say make it so, and then Popplet opens up the editor screen. So the little squares here are called popples, and in a popple is where you can enter text, you can enter a picture, you can create a drawing in the popple, or you can also just change the color of the popple. So I'm going to make this one blue. And I'm going to make this my title. And as I type in over here, you can see that you can change the centering or the size. And I'll make that one big since it's the title. That brings me back to the editor. Then you can just simply click and drag the popple around as you like. So to make a new popple, you just double tap and it comes up. And in this popple, I'm going to show you how to put in a picture. So let's see, one of the important sites in Boston is the John Hancock building. So what I did there was I clicked out of Popplet and I went to Safari. And I'm going to use Google to search for the John Hancock building, if I could spell it right, in Boston. I'm going to look for an image of the John Hancock Tower. In Google Images, you want to click through to what's called the full-size image, which you can see over here on the right. And all you have to do to get this image into Popplet is save it to your Photos app. So you just simply hold down until that menu comes up that says Save Image or Copy. I like to say Save Image. I'm going to click the Home button and then double click it to go back to Popplet, switch between apps. I want to insert that picture. I just click the Image tool. I find that in my images, and then I can put text in to label it. Of course, you'd want to capitalize that. Model good practice for students about that. But let's return to a more complete version. This is like one of those cooking shows. If I were to have an array of items here, I could connect them with lines as I have. To change lines or create lines, all you have to do is click the nodes on any popple, and you can click and drag to create a line. And then you can get rid of that line by clicking it or touching it and Xing it out. Okay, so this is what a popple would look like with 3 different images. I also showed here how you could actually put an image citation into Popplet. The way you would just do that is back in Safari, if you want to emphasize with students that it's important to cite images that they didn't take on their own or with their own camera, all you have to do is touch the URL or tap the URL, then hold down and click Select All, then click Copy. I'm going to go back to Popplet, hit Text, hold down, paste the text. So that's a cited image there as well. So a couple other things you can do with Popplet. Of course, you can color code each popple, like so. You can use arrows whichever way you want. If you want arrows, you can use arrows. If you don't want lines connecting, some people like webs and some people don't like webs. But Popplet is pretty versatile in terms of what it can represent graphically. You could do two popples connected in order to show cause and effect. You could do a bunch of popples connected to show sequence, or you could show popplets that are connected to show a list. So all kinds of text structures could be represented before a student was going to do writing or just to break down a topic. One thing you can do with your Popplet is you can click up here on Export, and you can send the Popplet as a PDF, email it as a PDF, email it as a JPEG, or save it as a JPEG. And one last thing I wanted to point out is you can actually create Popplets that will be synced to an online account if you'd like. New York Times just sent me a message there. So to do that, you have to be signed in to your online Popplet account. And then when you're signed in, if you make a new Popplet, that will be synced to the account. Okay, so if you wanted it to be synced to your account, you'd have to pre-plan that and sign in before you make the new Popplet. Okay, because these are the ones that live on the iPad up the top. These are the ones that live online at Popplet.com. You can just use the Popplet app to create something that will live online at Popplet.com. So that's the Popplet app, and as I said, there's a full version where you can create unlimited Popplets, and there's a light version where you can just create one. If you want to try it out, the light one is free, and it's a fun and interesting way to break down curriculum content with students, make graphic organizers. I've used this with students and have found it really engaging. It's a really easy way to make topics visual by bringing in pictures from Safari and Google Images and citing them as appropriate. If you're just using it with one student, it's probably not a big deal to cite it, but it's always good practice to teach them. And if you're sharing it with the whole class, you should probably cite the images. But that's Popplet. Thanks a lot.